You're listening to Guts and Grind with Siju and Sajan, making the real estate journey accessible to anyone.
Hey, everybody. Thanks for clicking in. Thanks for watching. In a previous episode, Matt Nicholson, our friend, he was asking, how do you find and keep good handymen? And we thought that was a great question because that's something that people have to deal with, even if you're a landlord or not. But mainly because if you're a landlord, you're going to have to use a handyman on a regular basis. So today, that's what we're going to be talking about. Before we dive in, I'm Sajan Abraham. And as always, I'm here with Siju Koshi. Thanks for joining us, man. How's life? How's everything going, dude?
We're hanging tough, brother. Keeping it going. Yeah, it's almost summertime. Gearing up for the kids getting out of school. I feel like they've never been in school, but you know.
Yeah. Same here, man. Same here.
Yeah, no, it's all good. We're just, hanging tight. It's working and hustling for properties. But I was watching I was reading an article actually, and it's looking at like home prices now, and they're just like boom, 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 just like skyrocketing. And and I think somebody posed a question on, hey, what is this? What does the end look like? Does it look like it's going to end anytime soon? And they're saying that these prices are probably going to just keep climbing for the next 1.5 to 2 years.
Yeah. It's unbelievable. Like, I mean, in my personal life, I put offers on 2 houses and I lost both of them. I mean, I was being a little bit aggressive on the pricing because the market is what it is. Like, people are just paying crazy amounts over. And so, you can't just fall into that and be like, no, I got to win. I got to win. You got to be smart about what your offers are and stuff like that. But it still hurts. It still hurts when you're trying to build your portfolio and it's like, lost another one, so.
But what's nice is if you have them, again, they're just growing, right? So that's the positive of investing in real estate, which is what this podcast is about. So get your feet in and get in there. I digress a little bit on that, but back to our topic at hand, which is what are we doing as far as finding good handyman, as Matt wants to know. Saj, what is your process in finding a contractor, handyman, somebody in the maintenance world to take care of your properties?
Right. Okay. So yeah, it's super important to find a good person, but you don't know. You know what I mean? Like, you just have to ride the wave and see if it's a good one or not, right? So because of that, I heavily rely on referrals. It's a big deal because, like, if a friend of mine or a friend of a friend used somebody and they were like, oh yeah, they're great, at least that's something. You're not going in cold, like, you don't know if this person's a, whatever, or doesn't even know what he's doing. At least you have some kind of background to say, oh, Johnny said that he's great, so I trust Johnny. Let me just use this person, right? So that's my main thing. I love referrals because, like, you can kind of trust the people around you to give good referrals because they care about you, right? But after that, I think if you go on like Facebook communities, like, you'll see people talk about different handymen and, like, in a positive light or a negative light, right? So if you don't know any plumbers at all through your circle of friends or whatever, or your network, go to that next step and then kind of do a little bit of research to say, are there any plumbers out there? What are people saying about them in these community reviews? Because, like, people are brutally honest, like, on the good side and bad side, right? Like, they are very honest about, like, oh, he came in and did an amazing job and it was fair price and blah, blah, blah. Or they're like, he came in and he overcharged me by this much and stuff. And you have to use a little bit of discretion because some people are just, in their feelings. And so they feel like, oh, they gave me a bad price, so that's why I'm going to give them a bad review. So you have to be mindful of that. So it's good to, like, look at multiple reviews before you make a decision. But, that's another way of doing it. I've even gone to the point of walking around Home Depot and Lowe's. And I love the hustle of people coming up to me and saying, hey, I see that you're in the plumbing section. I'm a plumber. If you ever need me, let me know what's up. And I'm
really?
Like, all right.
You get that a lot?
I get not a lot, but enough to be like, oh, this is a noticeable thing. And but I appreciate that hustle, right? Like, hey, these people are out here trying to do something and they might not know what they're doing, right? Like, they look at me and they're like, oh, that fool doesn't know anything about plumbing. So they'll come to me and I'm like, I appreciate that, like, it's good. You got to get your grind, get out there and do it, right?
So I appreciate that. You just post up at the plumbing aisle on the corner on a Saturday. Just random,
just random. Be like, who's going to come up, man? What's up? Nah, but that's a good way of, finding people. But yeah, that's typically what it is. There's one person that I use almost exclusively. because over time we build trust. So this kind of negates everything that I just said. So this is like an anomaly. We had a garage sale at our house years ago, like at our old house years ago. And this guy came up and bought some stuff from us. And he just made the comments like, hey, I'm a handyman if you ever need any kind of things fixed. I was like, all right, let me take down your number, whatever, right? And I use him like years. I mean, like we have a really good relationship. He gives me fair pricing. And so, yeah, like you might just stumble upon somebody too.
Yeah, I think what you mentioned about the Facebook piece of it, that's actually new, right? So nobody's ever had that kind of access to information or reviews. And if you notice, and obviously anybody that lives in a subdivision, if you buy a house in a subdivision, if you look up that Facebook, just that they probably have a Facebook subdivision page, and a lot of communities I know have that. And again, like you said, having those specific areas where they can actually look into and say, hey, who's a handyman, even just in that local area. And I'm telling you, the homeowners, they are vicious on there. They will either rip you a new one or sing your praises.
Yeah,
one or the other. And so
it's funny how there's no middle ground. It's either like you're amazing or you're garbage, right?
Yeah.
So it makes it easier for you though, right? As far as like trying to find the right person to do the job. Like, I mean, it makes it pretty easy, you know?
That's a big one. I mean, it reminds me of, remember the green sheets back in the day, old school green sheet newspapers where you can actually go and find handyman and things like that. So that's basically the modern day version of green sheets for like neighborhoods. So I think that's a great way to find them if you have an unknown area or neighborhood.
Right, for sure. So those are some ways of finding a handyman, right? And so I'm not saying it's easy to find handyman, but it's relatively easy because you have access to these points. But Siju, how do you keep a good handyman, right? Like, I think that's a harder thing to do because like good ones stay busy. And so how do you put yourself in the forefront to say, hey, I want to build a relationship with you, and whenever I have an issue, you're the guy to call? Like, what are your thoughts on that?
So keeping them, again, you're gonna do the best you can to keep them. I'm not saying there's a way to do it, but the beauty of this business, again, is if you're in it for the long term, if you're in the process of acquiring multiple properties, you're gonna have stuff breaking down in not just your one house, maybe a multiple house, and second, third, four houses that you have. Things are gonna go wrong, right? And so you're gonna need them more frequently than anything else. And these contractors, handymen, the main thing that they want is business, obviously, to keep them working. And if you rely on them, like Saad said, if you have one go-to guy and they know that you're going to keep them busy every time, they're probably going to respond to you more quickly from the first set, right? So making sure you rely on them once you find that good person, that'll build that rapport, which again is the most important thing with anything in real estate. It's about building rapport and network and connectivity with whoever you're working with. And so if you use them more than once, they'll give you their best pricing. As long as you're not lowballing them, you also will understand that price that they expect, right? If you know how much it costs to repair a toilet because they've done it 10 times, you know what the cost is. So you know what their cost is, and usually they'll probably give you a better price because you have that relationship with them anyway.
That's right. On that note, it's hard for me not to negotiate. It's hard for me to not say,
that's the Indian in you. That's
exactly.
The Indian in you.
Exactly. It's in our blood. Like, we have to try to get a better deal. And it's okay to do that. I'm not trying to say don't do that, but know what you're doing to that person when you do that. Because that person has mouths to feed, and he has to put a roof over his head and things like that. And when you start degrading the value that he's bringing to you, it kind of puts them in a bad position to say, well, you don't really care about me. I'm just a cog in your wheel. And then they might not be likely to answer your calls next time you need something done, right? So be mindful of that. Like, I'm not saying like be gouged by this individual, but at the same time, like, don't always try to lowball. Don't always try to like get the best price and get the upper hand every single time, because like it's a give and take relationship.
100%. Yeah, it's again, bottom line, I think the more I'm thinking and talking through this episode, it's I think that relationship is the most important, right? We talk about people and just building good relationships with anybody in the real estate game that's going to help you build your business, and you have to maintain that even with the handyman or contractor side. You got to think, once you've acquired the property, there's an element of business that you got to do to keep it up and keep it going as well. And just, again, pay on time. If they provide a service, make sure that money's back in their pocket. I know a lot of this is, as you do it, it may be sight unseen, meaning they may go to the property, knock it out, And so if they say, all right, it's done, they send you a picture of it, send that payment as soon as you can, because they obviously want to get paid for their stuff. So, any delayed in payments is, again, going to probably sour the relationship or make it better. So treat that ultimately is treating them with respect. And that's how you kind of maintain a good rapport with a good handyman and connection. And again, this will get better as you scale and as you add more properties to your portfolio, your investment. That's what's going to keep you holding on to your resources and building a good team.
Right. So over time, I've been doing this for over 10 years. And so over time, like I just have a running spreadsheet of just people that do things. And so like plumber, the name, the contact, and then notes. And so in the notes column, I kind of say, oh, really good pricing, really stand-up guy, whatever, or over-promise, under-deliver. I'm very brutal because it's my own spreadsheet, right? And so I just try to keep that running so that way I always have someone to call when something goes down. But there's always the go-to people, the people that you trust, the people that you know will do a good job and not overcharge and things of that nature. And you made a comment about sometimes you're seeing stuff. I mean, you're paying for stuff sight unseen. Like, I don't want to go to one of the properties because the toilet's broken. So they go out there and do it, and I have to trust that they get it done, right?
Yep.
So, but just to have the checks and balances, I still stay in communication with the tenant, with the handyman, and everyone, just kind of saying, hey, tenant, how did everything go? Is everything up and running? And then I'll check with the handyman. I say, hey, are you good? Is everything all right? And if they both agree and they're both saying the same thing, like, yes, it was great, everything's working now, then I send payment immediately. Because like you said, like, I don't want to wait for my money. If I did a service, I want to be treated with respect. And so I want to relay that as well to the people that are helping me out.
Yeah, and that's a great point. So I was closing the loop on confirming that if the tenant saw it and it was to their satisfaction, making sure they do a clean job, they don't leave the house messy. Those are all things that you'll kind of get feedback on from your tenant and just making sure everything's done properly there. But I like that, man. You do Sajan's reviews. You got your own spreadsheet of reviews. And
I share that. I've shared that spreadsheet to multiple people. So it's also good to be a connector, right?
Yeah.
Like I say, use your circle of friends or use your community to get referrals.
Yep.
It helps other people too, because like when my guys know that Sajan sent me this new work, as long as they're good people and they're going to pay on time and be respectful and all that stuff, it shines good on me as well, right?
Oh yeah.
And so and I feel like there's enough work to go around. Like it's not like Siju's going to steal my handyman, and he'll never come back to me. I mean, I don't feel that that's the case. So I think it's the willingness to be able to share too is important. If you have a good plumber, like share that person, because like they could get more work.
Yep.
And you become the connector, and so like everyone appreciates that. So sharing is caring.
Sharing is caring. And so with that said, I mean, I don't know if there's anything else that we can add to this kind of topic, but ultimately, like everything else, your realtor, your lender, just making sure that you have good relations with all those folks. Because if you're truly into this game for the long term, which it should be, it's not a quick rich scheme type of business, right? You want to make sure you build those relationships properly, including the handyman. Handyman's your guy afterwards. After you get that property, he's handyman or a contractor. Those are the guys that are going to be helping you guys maintain the property, keep it up, and make sure it's livable for your customers, which are the tenants. And that's my take on it anyway. Saj, what about you?
No, I totally agree. And also like keeping that relationship going is good because they're kind of your eyes on the property as well. Like they're able to get into the house, on not a regular basis, but on a random basis when, something broke and we need to fix it immediately. They're the ones that see how's the house being maintained. It's awesome when my handyman tells me, hey, they're great, man. Like the house is like spotless. Or on the flip side, at least I know like, they didn't change the AC filter. Like I need to get on them about that, but I would never know.
I had a quick story on that. That's a great point that you brought that up. So I had a guy, one of my AC guys, right? He went to maintain and do some maintenance on an AC unit at one of the houses. He went there, obviously the AC unit's outside, the fan, the blower, so it's outside. He went out there to do some maintenance, and he noticed a crate with a puppy in it. And this was in the Texas heat in the summer, right? And this person was not supposed to have pets on the property. By the way, keep that in mind. And so anyway, so he texts me back. He goes, hey, I replaced whatever, blah, blah, blah. AC's fixed. And then he goes, by the way, I don't know if you noticed, but there's a puppy in the backyard in the kennel in a crate, in the heat. And I was like, okay, look back at my contract real quick. No pet deposit was put on this thing. I mean, what is going on? And plus the dogs, again, sitting in the heat, which is, again, who knows, like, I mean, if somebody calls that on SPCA's out there and, it could be a nightmare. So anyway, so I contacted the tenant. I said, hey, you don't have a pet deposit, and make sure that there's a puppy sitting in the backyard. Make sure it's out of the heat, and it needs to be removed off the property. Otherwise, you're going to get fined by me.
Yeah.
And so it's again, I would have never known about it. And he said he was, sitting it for, obviously he said he was house sitting for his sister or something like that. But I said, hey, put the dog inside at the very least. But, I mean, these are things that you don't ever know unless, like you said, good people that you work with every day, they're willing to work with you and give you the same information. If you show that respect, they'll show that respect back to you. That's just
exactly,
the end of the game.
They become friends to you, right? I mean, like you do enough work with these people and they become like your friends. Like, I mean, and they trust you because you've treated them well, and you trust them because they treated you well, right? So it's kind of a mutually beneficial thing. And so I know we talk about real estate and it's houses and buildings and stuff, but it's really a people game. It's if you could master the art of being good and kind to people, you could do well in this game. Like it's really about treating people right and doing the right thing for others and for yourself.
But I think that's just in general in life, right? Just be kind. Just be nice to your friends. Be nice to everybody around you. I mean, even if they're butts to you, I mean, you have to kill them with kindness. That's all you can do.
That's right.
But so right, I mean, man. That's a great point. That's a great way to kind of summarize the episode.
Right. So as always, thank y'all for watching. Please leave comments and questions that you might have, or even just like if you have an experience with like a handyman that you want to share, please put it in the comments. We want to know. We want to be able to have this as a conversation. So once again, thank you so much for watching. Siju, thanks for being a part of it as always. Till next time. Thanks, guys. See y'all later.
Take care.
Thanks for listening to Guts and Grind with Siju and Sajan. Be sure to tune in next time.